Nashukuru pale nimetoka. Kushukuru mimi sitachoka. Nashukuru pale nimetoka.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's yet another episode of the Jared Podcast, and this is the show, The Den. My name is Ben Psycho. I'm going to be reading the comments from the latest episode that we did last week with Wanjiru. That was on parenting through different seasons. First of all, I need to explain to you that this time round, we said we're not going to take a break. So we finished season 7, and instead of taking a break, we said we're going to be giving you guys just random episodes, and also we're going to try and do individual episodes as well. So this is the time that we should be on break, but we're like, you know what? We care about the people too much. We care about you, you know? We should win a Nobel for that, if you ask me. So let me read the comments about the parenting through different seasons. And this episode, we were talking about how different kids in the family, the firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn, fourthborn, fifth, if you guys go to 6th, 7th, 8th, just include yourself there, how you were raised by your parent at a different season of their lives. So let me start with the first comment. The first comment is Cynthia is saying that I will always support Ben's music. Wow, I think I should have picked a comment related to the episode, but this is more important. I will always support Ben's music because it's dope. They're sleeping on you, Ben. Your music is lit. That's because Ben dropped an album called Misimu. Make sure you check it out. Let me look for another one. As lastborns, we experienced the best version of our parents. That's true. They had already healed from the trauma of almost trying to kill us firstborns. Nimewapata. That sounds exactly like my mom growing up. So I gave this story where my mom would sometimes spy on my bro when he's talking to girls, and he just like appears randomly. Nimewapata, that was weird, mom. Let me see. Anna's Kitchen KE is saying that this episode has made me feel seen as a firstborn with mom and dad issues. Wish you well, Anne. Yeah, so Nemo Baby is saying, yes, we're enjoying this conversation this season. We're eating well. The Franklin's Network is saying, middle kids, we brought ourselves up. Middle kids, you have a lot to say. Even Shiro. Janice Come is saying, playing Ben's music in the car, downloaded the whole album, and it's dope. Thank you so much, guys. Make sure you keep streaming. Misimu right now, we're doing how many streams? Let me ask my team. How many streams are we doing? Yeah, that's we are approaching 100k. Thank you. There's a bonus for you. Yeah. So let's get to today's topic, which is very interesting because these guys decided that I should tackle the heavy topic. Wanjiru alisema haezi toshea kwa buti ya Subaru, so I get to tackle this topic. And the topic is politics and relationships. So let's see how this turns out. What's my definition of politics? That's weird asking a political scientist student. Oh, for once I'm a professional on something I actually studied. You know, I see a lot of people on podcasts talk about these things and they didn't go to school for it. Professional. But anyway, my definition of politics is... So politics is defined as why am I forgetting? I actually forgot what definition of politics was. But how I define politics is basically how we get to decide the leadership of the time. How we get to choose who takes us to achieve the goals that we have as a society. That's how I define politics. Actually, that's how politics is defined. It's the determination of who gets what, when, where, and how. So I look at it as how human beings, because human beings are naturally political, how we get to decide or how we are governed so that we can achieve the goals that we've set for ourselves as a society. Yeah. Have I ever been averse to politics? Yeah, there was a time I thought I was too cool for politics, and this is probably my high school season. I thought like politics ni ya ushamba, politics ni za wase like awana plan ama wase wazee or old people. And even when I joined university, I had that notion till I started understanding that this thing is actually affecting me directly. And I got this realization because of the music element and the copyright issues that we had in our country. And when I tried getting to the bottom of it, it was because we couldn't find a proper solution, because the solution still lies with the leaders that we had appointed for the country. So that made me become very interested in politics. And now throughout my university years, earlier in the university, I still thought it wasn't so cool. But throughout my university, I became very invested in politics. And this is both in Kenya, in the whole region, continent, globally. And now I'm that parent who gets home and I have to rewind to watch the news. Yeah. Do I think political affinity is important in relationships? Wow, that would be interesting. I think it is important, but you can have different views. Somebody can be for this political party and the other one can be of this political party. But I feel like there are ground rules where we all have to agree on the same page. Like number one, if we need to agree on the human rights, justice, and ensure that we are not propagating things that will harm the other. I think it's okay for people to have different views and to support whatever party they feel would be right for the day. But at the end of the day, we have to agree on ground rules. Like we can't, I think it's a red flag when you're dating somebody and they're very tribal, you know? I think that's a huge red flag, because if they're already tribal at a tribe level, then that means they might also even have some sort of discrimination when it comes to a family level, because it's the same ideology. So as long as you are aligned on the basics, tribalism, justice, human rights, everyone can take their, I don't really mind if somebody's of another political party or something, ideology. Do I know what my wife's political positions are? Oh, wow. My wife is so nice and so submissive. She goes where the man leads, where the priest of the home decides. That's where she falls into. I actually enjoy having political debates with my wife. And in most times, we are aligned. We vote almost for the same people. So when we find ourselves in the mess, we remind one another. The mistakes that we made, and we suffer as a family. But yes, I do know her political affiliations, or her political, where she stands politically. I know that. Even her, when you look at how far she's come, at first she was just during campus. I never saw her as this politically charged. But afterwards, after aliona ina affect penye atapelekwa internship na pesa itaingia na pesa ya mango penye itatoka, she's full-time, she's very politically aware. In our dating relationship, when did politics come up? Now, because we started dating quite early, this is in university, it didn't come up then. It came up after we finished university. And now at this time we were creating content, or rather we were both pursuing different careers. And politics is not cool until you realize how much it affects you. And that's when now we'd have political discussions based on who are we going to vote for, where do we lie, what are the leaders doing. So I'd say after university is when I remember now we would have these political conversations, and we have them until today. Do I think it's irresponsible for an adult to be politically unaware of what's happening? Wow, that's a good question. It could be because of a couple of reasons. Number one, it could be that person is a serious beneficiary of the system. Like the current system really works to their favor. They could care less. They want things to remain as they are. Number two, it could be because they've already become hopeless, such that they don't feel like their voice matters, or their one vote might change anything. So what happens is they just pull back, because they just shut down, and mentally they just feel like it's a hopeless scenario. And I've met such people. I've met some of my friends who tell me they don't even watch the news anymore. They feel like we are just in so much chaos, and so they shut down. But that happens a lot when you've lost hope, when you feel like there's nothing that this will change. So that could be another reason. And then it could be that genuinely you're just you're just responsible as an adult. Like, you don't care to participate in the leadership that will affect you directly. So it could be because of 3 reasons. So my personal opinion, do I think that it's irresponsible as an adult not to be involved in the politics of the day? Yes, that's my personal opinion. I feel like, you have a responsibility to participate in this. And this, you see, the thing about politics is like, it's like this huge group work that we have to do as a country. And I remember in campus when sometimes when you don't attend any groups, you just write your name. So there's some people you left that burden on to do that group work for you, to go print it. And then because maybe they're your friends, or maybe when ulitoa pesa ya lunch siku na ukatoa pesa ya printing na pesa ya research, you're just added there in the list. I mean, you're important, but there is a slight burden that you left the people who are actively participating in the group work. So that's the same thing with politics and a country. If you choose to withdraw, you're slightly responsible because you're leaving the bigger role to other people. So yeah, it's one big group work, and most times a lot of people fail us. Based on the current political climate in the country, if I wasn't married and I'm in the dating scene, when do I bring it up? I mean, on the first date, like when we were talking and you're like, hey, how are you? Can I take you out? I would bring it up in the first date. Oh, definitely the first date. And if you're ignorant of what's happening, if you're in bed with the oppressors, hey, but being in bed with the oppressors means that there's some good cheng, there's some security. No, we cut it out in the first date. How do I indulge with somebody who has different political views from mine? At first, I used to get really riled up and emotional. But you see, as a country, we've chosen democracy as the way to go. So then that means I need to be open and I need to be tolerant with somebody who has different political views. And one of the things that I always try to caution myself is not to become intolerant. Because you see, even when you have abductions and you have people being silenced, that's them being intolerant. So if I also become intolerant, I'm also being like them. So one of the ways sometimes I test how mature I am is when I'm able to listen to somebody who's speaking from the other side. But politically, how I look at it is, I used to be very emotional at first, like it would even make me sad, But I came to realize you just have to allow the country to grow to where it is, because even the people sometimes we put most of our hopes in and we say, hey, this one will betray us, this one will be our people. They get in the system, wamekuruka. So I don't know if it's something that the political system does, or I don't know what happens when people become when people are in leadership. So I said that no matter who we choose, in most times, we will still end up having a few crises here and then. So I think, I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. But how do I deal with people who are of different political views? Yeah, I think I'll go with the intolerance one, where I don't want to get to a point where I'm intolerant to people who have different political views from mine. Because even the people who are currently in government who don't want anyone speaking against them, they're becoming intolerant. And before they got there, they were in opposition. So they had to be allowed to speak out, and they wished that somebody was tolerant to allow their opinion to fly. So if we get to a place where we are intolerant of other political views, I always check that and ask myself if I'm really mature enough to have gotten to that point. Wait, God does ordain leaders, right? Yes. But just because he's let it happen just doesn't mean you're a good leader. Yes. Of course, just because God has allowed you to be a leader doesn't mean you're a good leader. You see, even when you look at the story of the Israelites, they are the ones who said that they wanted a king. God wasn't of the idea that they need to have a king, but they insisted and said they wanted a king, and that's when they got King Saul. and God, yes, he ordains the office, but we get to choose. I mean, it's unfair for people to say that it's God who's chosen for them the president. You get to wake up, go to the ballot, and you get to vote for your leader. Now the leader that you choose is the leader that now goes to the office that has been ordained by God. So if you guys choose bad leaders, you can't come back again and say, or not even you guys, if we, because I'm there. Hata mimi sometimes during elections, I don't know what happens to me. Sometimes you just find you are not just thinking correctly. You are just thinking you are not smart anymore, you know? So even I have been there where you, like you see, even this time round, we were swayed, you know, church and all that. But we are the ones who get to elect these leaders. So it's not, God doesn't come from heaven and say, you know what, I'm choosing for you a leader. No, we are the ones who get to elect them. So if we choose bad leaders, we're going to get bad leadership. If we choose good leaders, we're going to get good leadership. So that one, we don't blame it on God. That one is a civic duty that is upon each and every one of us. What's the most bizarre political view that I've had in the recent past, in the recent times? I'd say when somebody told me that the Russians were responsible for maandamano. And now being at the maandamano, I was like, kwani pesa yangu ya Moscow haingi? Pesa yangu ya St. Petersburg sioni. That for me was bizarre. I didn't even talk much. So I said that you need to allow people to have different political views. But when somebody tells me a bizarre political statement, it gets me riled up. You know, it gets me very emotional. And I remember we had a debate for like an hour trying to tell them that Putin is busy in Ukraine. Like they need to drop some. There's a war. They don't have time for this, and we had a heated argument for a long time. But it was a very respectful argument, and we ended up on opposing sides. Yeah. So you're saying that you feel like the women are more at the forefront more than the men?
Yes.
In this political movement. Right, I beg to differ with that statistic. I feel like I don't have the numbers, but I feel like it's both men and women. But I'm happy when I even see the women involved, because now it means it's not just a political game left for the men. It's now everybody involved. And at this point, we can't say it's just the women, because we've also seen kids. We've seen high school students go on strike in their schools. High schools right now. We've seen small kids in primary just chanting and all that. So I feel like we're at that moment where people are becoming united in one voice. You know, it's your mom at home. Kitambo, the political narrative was based on tribe. Not that Kitambo, by the way. It's maybe like a few years back, whereby if in the house you say you're gonna stand for different you will take a different political stand, not based on your tribe. It will be an issue of discussion within the family. But right now, I feel like our parents are with us. We are there. Some of us younger siblings, we are speaking the same language. So I wouldn't say that we have more women at the forefront. I think the men are there, the women are there, the kids are there, and it's one. Everybody is now politically educated, and I think now the future of politics is that we are gonna have. For a long time, I feel like we've left out politics for gangsters. You know, like people who we don't know where they get their money. They just come, pay people, and then they're involved. And then, but I feel like right now people are there's a political awakening where people are now challenging their leaders. What did you do? I dare say this crop of MPs will have a very hard time going back to mobilizing their constituencies, because people are not stupid anymore. And I like that. People are more politically charged. Do I think it's possible to be with somebody who has different political views and they are on the farthest end of the spectrum? I think it's possible. However, as I said when we started the show, I think you have to agree on some basic rules. Human rights, we're not going to marginalize a specific group. I think those should be standard, and those are basic. So if they're also treading on thin ice with those ones, now that's a red flag. But different political views, I mean, it's okay. I think it's possible. Ooh, what do I remember the political space that I was raised in? Wow, first of all, the thing that I remember the most that's so vivid is 2007. That's after the elections, because it was interesting, because we were of a different tribe, and our neighbors were different tribes, and we used to play together. We used to have fun together. But after the elections were announced, I remember them just getting out of the house and just forming a group. They came together because it's a plot with like 12 houses, you know. So us, we were at the entrance, and we were like the only Kikuyus, or were like two groups of the same tribe. And so different people of different tribes would just come out and show a lot of hostility towards us. And I was shocked, because we are neighbors. We've literally grown up together. The way they just turned on us was interesting. So, and it's not just, well, it didn't get to a fighting level. It didn't get to that point. But we could hear most of those cries and attacks in Kawangware, because where I grew up is closer to Kawangware. So you would see a lot of smoke coming up from Ungwaro. So that's one of the vivid moments that I remember. And so I also have a picture of what this division and this tribal politics can do to a sober group of people. Yeah. What has had the biggest impact in my politics? For me, it's mostly research. It's to understand what we could be. You know, when we look at countries like China and how they rose, they just had leaders who were integral. I mean, they have a different system, which is the communist system of doing things. But it's not even the mode of governance, but just the integrity that the leaders had to ensure that they have to stop corruption. So there's some ground rules that people have to agree on. When you look at a country like Japan, by 1945, it has been bombed. The Nagasaki and Hiroshima, they're all in ashes. But you can't compare Kenya and Japan at this point, because they have some moral values in their blood, and it's not just in their political system, even as human beings. So I think even for Kenya to get to that place that we desire, even as a people, we need to change some of the behaviors that we have. The small things that we do, we have to be people of integrity, because the leaders are a reflection of us, but we also are a reflection of them. We are the ones who choose them. So if we are going to get to such levels, then we have to change even as a people from a personal level, so that we also change our leadership. And so even the people that we elect get to reflect the morality that we have as a people. Yeah. But before research, it was based on now my folks, actually, and the narrative that I hear is being spoken in our families, by our relatives. And when I sat down to ask myself, are we on the right side of history? Are we saying the right thing? I realized that we were also just falling into their big game that they play at the top. We are told we need to vote for our people. None of your people ever sends you something whenever they are up there. So even if you have your people, say as a minister, that doesn't benefit you directly. So when I started realizing this, I was like, okay. PSCC, we were just like, they're called pawns in one big game being played by the political bosses. Have I felt bullied during this politically charged season? Have I felt bullied to say something or to do something? I mean, there's that pressure, and there's the fight. Now, remember, even before that, I used to be very active in politics. Like even when we check the Psycho podcast, I used to host some of my friends so that we talk about politics and see what do we need to change, what do we need to participate in. I mean, we went all the way. We were even talking about the war in Gaza. But you see, such things I'm not doing them for clout or for PR. But I feel like in this season, people want to, you can just dandia it for clout. You can just say something because you feel like people will cancel you or bully you, which I don't think should be the case. I think people should be doing this voluntarily, because when we propagate this for too long, people will be doing things for ops. So you just take a quick bike to town, take a picture, show people you are with them. But probably you don't even know, you're not even concerned with, you don't even know what's happening in the political world. I feel like people need to be allowed to do this out of their own willingness. That's one of the ways in which we're going to get some serious impact. Otherwise, people will start doing this for PR. And people can't be good at PR. Yeah. I just hope they get to elect good people. We really lost it as a country. And one of the main things as a country we need to work on, and it's going to change the whole game, is curbing the election budget that is set aside for different people. Because you see now, like for you to be a governor in Nairobi, you need your money needs to run into billions. And if you can have a good leader, but if they don't have that budget, they can't match up to somebody who doesn't have the correct moral standing. You don't even know where they got the money or who's backing them. And that money will automatically make them powerful. And now that's at a gubernatorial level. Come to the MP, come to the MCAs, go to the president. If we keep making our elections about money, it will take a long time before we leave the block. And I think the people, it's hard to convince the masses or just the kawaida people not to take money. But I think we can get to a point where people can take the money and still go vote for the right person or the person who has the moral authority. That way, when you take away this power of money from these guys, people who can lead, I wish we would just vote for people based on their moral standing as opposed to how much money they have. So I wish that the next generation gets to just choose a good crop of leaders. That's the only way we're going to change as a country. Wow, this was a very interesting conversation, very intense. I loved it. See you on the next episode. Let me know what your opinions are in the comment section and how we can just tackle this topic much better. Adios.
Nashukuru pale nimetoka. Kushukuru mimi sitachoka. Nashukuru pale nimetoka.